There's a question that you might have in your heads, and that is, why is it that we had such a concentration of income in the late 1920s, and we had such concentration of income over the last 30 years? Why did income get so concentrated at the top? What happened? What's the explanation in both eras? And in both eras, the explanation comes down to, fundamentally, technology. In the first era, from about 1890 all the way through the end of the 1920s, we had new technologies that allowed enormous economies of scale, huge machinery, huge factories, great combinations of industry building on those new technologies, and we got tremendous advantages out of those new technologies, those new machines. The problem is that the ownership was very concentrated. So most owners, most people who ran these big companies did not do what Henry Ford did. What Henry Ford did was in 1913, he said to his employees, look, I'm going to give you $5 a day, which in those days was a lot of money. It was about twice to 3 times what the typical factory worker was earning. He said, I'm going to give you $5 a day. The Wall Street Journal accused Henry Ford of being a socialist. How can he possibly do that? Well, he turned around and he said, this is smart business, because with $5 a day, my workers can turn around and they can quickly accumulate enough money to buy a Model T Ford, which they're producing. Consumers and workers are the same things, said Henry Ford. He was a smart businessman. Most business people did not understand that. They fought unions. They did not want the kind of progressive changes that ultimately were instituted in the 1930s and 40s and 50s. The second wave of technological change started in the 60s, but reached fruition in the 70s and 80s. What were those? They were technologies of communication and transportation, mostly starting with cargo ships, cargo planes, containerization, containers, satellite communication technologies. Eventually, computers and the internet. But what did all these do? All of these allowed the production process to be parceled out around the globe to wherever things could be done most cheaply. And it was a huge boon in terms of efficiency. It was great, but the problem was that the benefits of those efficiency gains did not go to everyone. But you see, what happened to all of these people? I mean, in the factory, we have this romantic idea that if we just bring manufacturing back, we'll have all of these manufacturing jobs. But the people who say that don't know what a new factory looks like. There's not a labor-intensive assembly line. No, it's a few people who are sitting there behind computer consoles, who are controlling robotics and numerically controlled machine tools. It's a high-tech operation, relatively few people. And so what happened to all of those people who used to be telephone operators and gas station attendants and even in factories? Where did they go? I mean, yes, we are now having a jobs crisis, but it wasn't that many years ago. 1998, 1999, we had unemployment that was down to 4% in most parts of the country. That wasn't that many years ago. Where were all those people? If they got displaced by technology or by foreign workers, where did they go? What did they do? The answer is that they found jobs in the local service economy. Retail, restaurant, hotel, hospital jobs, construction jobs, child care, elder care. There are a lot of jobs, and there will be jobs again. The problem with these local service jobs is that they don't pay very much. The long-term issue for the American economy is not jobs, it's wages. The long-term problem for us is that you've got a minority of people who are well-educated, well-connected, who are really taking advantage of technology and globalization and doing very well, and you have a majority who are on a downward escalator in terms of wages and benefits. They will get jobs, I assure you, The problem is those jobs are not going to pay very much. And if I were president tonight talking about the State of the Union, that's the challenge I would pose. And I would talk about policies that try to improve the quality of jobs and the labor force. If I were talking about investments in education and job training and investments in infrastructure, I'd put it in that framework, not in terms of competitiveness, not in terms of catching up with the Chinese. We are already preeminent. The Chinese aren't our enemy. No, this is our challenge here for ourselves, for our own workers. One final point, it is good even for people at the top. And I make this argument to my friends who are investment bankers and are doing very, very well. They will do better with a smaller share of a rapidly growing economy, and a rapidly growing economy that fosters a positive politics, than they will with a large share of an economy that is struggling to grow, that may not grow very much at all, that really is bogged down and will stay bogged down and will generate a negative and highly partisan politics. It is in their interest to embrace these principles as well. The Christian brothers who founded this great institution understood everything I am saying, and still do. The principles of social justice and economic equity that I have laid out tonight are principles that this institution is premised on and built on. And so it is entirely fitting and appropriate that we have this discussion here tonight. Thank you very much.